Hi guys, today I brought you some super news. Let's embark on a journey full of joy, music, and incredible stories. Get ready because the heart will speed up and the energy will go up there. Let's talk about a super special person who was born in Juazeiro, Bahia. You know Ivete Sangalo, right? She is pure joy and one of the biggest stars of Brazilian music. Did you know that Ivete Sangalo's story began there in Juazeiro? Well, a city full of stories and charms, and that gave the world one of the biggest stars of Brazilian music. When she was a child, Ivete crossed the bridge every day, always with a twinkle in her eye, curious and full of energy. Juazeiro, by the way, is a very special place. But don't confuse it with Juazeiro do Norte, in Ceará, see? This is the Juazeiro of Bahia, the land of human warmth, beautiful landscapes, and a culture so rich that it seems that there is music in the air. The name of the city comes from a tree called Juazeiro, which is very common in the region and resistant like the people who live there. Juazeiro is also known for being the birthplace of great talents. João Gilberto, the father of Bossa Nova, was born there too. Can you believe it? A city that carries so much inspiration could only give the world such incredible artists as these. Now, going back to Ivete, did you know that she started singing when she was very little? That's that. Her father was passionate about music and loved to organize musical gatherings at the family home. Just imagine, people gathered, guitar, joy, and in the middle of all this, little Ivete being enchanted by that musical universe. It was in these meetings that she released her voice for the first time to an audience, singing a beautiful song by Clara Nunes. Since then, no one has had any doubts. That talent was going to shine brightly. Ivete's house was full of music, and her family loved to participate. This very musical environment helped shape the talent that today enchants millions of people. But at that time, she was just a dreamy girl, full of desire to show the world everything she had in her heart. And what a heart, right? Always full of love, joy, and a lot of gratitude. Her story is an example that big dreams can start in simple places, with moments full of affection and inspiration. And Juazeiro, with all its charm and history, was the perfect stage for the beginning of this incredible trajectory. You can feel the heat of this city, can't you? It's almost like listening to a soft melody, full of beauty and emotion, just like Ivete's way of enchanting the world. Now, how about we take a trip to the São Francisco neighborhood, where Ivete grew up? Look, this place has a special energy, full of stories that, just hearing it, makes you want to visit. It was in this corner of Juazeiro that Ivete spent a good part of her childhood, living simple days, but full of joy. In the neighborhood, music was practically a constant soundtrack. Ivete grew up surrounded by sounds and melodies that, little by little, planted her love for the stage in her heart. And you know what's more beautiful? Today, there is a square in the neighborhood that is named after her father. He was a merchant, a much-loved figure in the city, and made a point of leaving a legacy of generosity and joy. Can you imagine? While Ivete was taking her first steps, her father was already marking the neighborhood with his special way of being. This square, in addition to being a tribute, is almost like a piece of the history of this family that is so remarkable for Juazeiro. Now she thinks only living in the neighborhood where Ivete played when she was a child. You can even imagine little Ivete running through the streets full of dreams and energy, laughing with friends and exploring the world around her. There are people who say that when passing by the Juazeiro Bridge, they can only remember it, you know? That's because Ivete never stopped speaking with such affection of the place where it all began. And this love of hers for her homeland is not for nothing. Juazeiro and the São Francisco neighborhood are full of soul, full of culture. Every corner has a story. Every street seems to hold a little piece of her childhood. It's as if everything there still had a little bit of Ivete. The joy, the sparkle in her eyes, the welcoming way. You can't go through Juazeiro without feeling that this place has something different, special. After all, it was from there that One of the greatest artists in Brazil was born, and everyone who knows the city knows how grateful she is for her roots. And did you know that here in Juazeiro, there is a statue in honor of Ivete's father? Well, he was such an important figure for the city that he deserved this recognition. Not only was he a beloved merchant, but he also founded a club that marked the history of the region. This club was like the meeting point for the crowd, full of events and unforgettable moments. Can you imagine Ivete, still a child, accompanying her father at these events and perhaps already dreaming of the stages? And you know what's more incredible? The house where Ivete lived is still standing. Today, other people live there, but for those who know her story, it is exciting to pass by the street and know that it was there that it all began. You can even imagine little Ivete singing around the house with that big voice that, at the time, was just the beginning of a giant trajectory. It was there that she began to walk the path to becoming the big star we know today. But Ivete is not all music and joy on stage. She has a giant heart and always cares about making a difference in people's lives. An example of this is the wonderful project she created, the Institute of Women's Health. This project offers free breast exams to women, helping to save lives. And the most incredible thing is that the Institute has a truck that travels through the region, taking these exams to those who live in more distant places and do not have easy access to health. Isn't it amazing to think that, even with her busy schedule, she is still dedicated to taking care of so many people? Now, changing the subject a little. Did you know that Ivete, as a child, tried to be a salesperson, but it didn't work out very well? It's true. Her father asked her and her sister to sell jewelry at school. But apparently, Ivete didn't have much talent for sales at the time. But today? With the charisma she has, she would sell anything. Even jackfruit would look like a rare jewel in her hands. Can you imagine Ivete, full of charm, convincing anyone to take whatever she wanted? But instead of selling things, she ended up winning the hearts of the whole of Brazil with her music and her unique way. This is Ivete Sangalo, a mixture of talent, charisma, and a huge heart. And it all started there, in Juazeiro, surrounded by simplicity, dreams, and a family full of love. It's beautiful to see how she never forgot her roots and continues to spread joy and care wherever she goes. Do you know how it all started? In 2010, they created a website to gather information and news about it. Since then, the site has only grown and has a dedicated team updating everything. It's like a big family of fans who follow her every step with great affection. And did you know that here in Juazeiro there is a statue in honor of Ivete's father? Well, he was such an important figure for the city that he deserved this recognition. Not only was he a beloved merchant, but he also founded a club that marked the history of the region. This club was like the meeting point for the crowd, full of events and unforgettable moments. Can you imagine Ivete, still a child, accompanying her father at these events, and perhaps already dreaming of the stages? And you know what's more incredible? The house where Ivete lived is still standing. Today, other people live there, but for those who know her story, it is exciting to pass by the street and know that it was there that it all began. You can even imagine little Ivete singing around the house with that big voice that, at the time, was just the beginning of a giant trajectory. It was there that she began to walk the path to becoming the big star we know today. But Ivete is not all music and joy on stage. She has a giant heart and always cares about making a difference in people's lives. An example of this is the wonderful project she created, the Institute of Women's Health. This project offers free breast exams to women, helping to save lives. And the most incredible thing is that the Institute has a truck that travels through the region, taking these exams to those who live in more distant places and do not have easy access to health. Isn't it amazing to think that, even with her busy schedule, she is still dedicated to taking care of so many people? Now, changing the subject a little. Did you know that Ivete, as a child, tried to be a salesperson, but it didn't work out very well? It's true. Her father asked her and her sister to sell jewelry at school. But apparently, Ivete didn't have much talent for sales at the time. But today? With the charisma she has, she would sell anything. Even jackfruit would look like a rare jewel in her hands. Can you imagine Ivete, full of charm, convincing anyone to take whatever she wanted? But instead of selling things, she ended up winning the hearts of the whole of Brazil with her music and her unique way. This is Ivete Sangalo, a mixture of talent, charisma, and a huge heart. And it all started there, in Juazeiro, surrounded by simplicity, dreams, and a family full of love. It's beautiful to see how she never forgot her roots and continues to spread joy and care wherever she goes. So have you ever wanted to get to know Juazeiro and fall even more in love with her story? Her mother, Dona Maria, was one of those people who brighten up any environment. Always cheerful and full of energy, she had the gift of transforming simple moments into pure fun. Dona Maria loved to invent funny nicknames for everyone, and that, of course, made the house even more full of laughter. Ivete grew up in this light environment, surrounded by love and games, and this shaped a lot of the spontaneous and charismatic way she has to this day. And you know what's amazing? Music was already part of Ivete's life since she was very little. At home, samba dominated. It was the rhythm that rocked family gatherings, and Ivete always remembers that time fondly. She even says that if someone asks her what style she knows how to sing the most, the answer comes right away: samba, can sapati. You imagine little Ivete singing and dancing with her family, full of energy and talent? As a child, Ivete lived between Juazeiro and Petrolina, two cities connected by the famous Presidente Dutra Bridge and the beautiful São Francisco River. It was there, on the banks of the river, that she and her siblings played and enjoyed the simplicity of life in the countryside. And even with all this calm around, Ivete had a giant dream: to take her music to the world. The first big step in this dream happened when she was just 11 years old. Just imagine a girl going up to the stage of a square to sing alongside a local musician. She was so small, but she already had that twinkle in her eyes and a voice that left everyone impressed. It was there, at that moment, that the story of one of Brazil's greatest artists began. Later, when she was 16 years old, Ivete started singing in bars. It was a challenging phase, but full of learning. With her powerful voice and captivating manner, she conquered people night after night. At that time, she met a lot of people who believed in her talent and helped open doors. One of these people even lent her a guitar so she could play. Can you imagine the courage she had to go after her dream, singing anywhere she could show her art? It was pure determination. When Ivete went to Salvador, everything changed. Just imagine leaving the countryside with the warmth of Juazeiro and diving headlong into the hustle and bustle of the big city. Salvador was a completely different world, full of challenges, but also full of opportunities for those who had a dream in their hearts and a talent like hers. It was there that Ivete began to discover that she had something special, a light that shone wherever she went. Soon, she began to sing in micaretas, those parties that bring together crowds full of joy and energy. It was in this contagious vibe that Ivete realized that she was born to be on stage. The first time she got on an electric trio was something to keep in her memory. At first, she was scared. Who wouldn't? A sea of people, dancing, singing, and waiting for her to be the center of that party. But quickly, she showed that she was more than ready for it. And when she let her voice out with O Canto da Cidade, it seemed that the whole world stopped to listen. It was one of those magical moments that change everything. But her journey in Salvador was not only made of glamour. Ivete was still young, full of dreams, and each step was a mixture of learning and courage. She started singing with a band that she put together herself. Can you imagine how busy it was to gather musicians, rehearse, and perform? And in one of these adventures, something happened that looks more like a movie scene. The band's bus broke down halfway through, and that's when she met a person who was going to completely change her story. That meeting was decisive. The person was delighted with Ivete's talent and suggested that she participate in a very famous musical contest in Bahia. And guess what happened? Of course she shone. Ivete won the Revelation Singer Award, a recognition that opened doors and showed that this was just the beginning of an incredible trajectory. From then on, what was already a spark turned into a fire. Her talent began to catch everyone's attention. And it wasn't just for her powerful voice or charisma that she conquered any audience, but for the way she made each performance seem unique, full of emotion and connection with the audience. Salvador saw the birth of a star, and Ivete never stopped growing. This move to Salvador was like the beginning of a great chapter in her life. There, she not only found her vocation, but also began to build a relationship with the public that accompanies her to this day. After all, those who see Ivete on stage feel that they are seeing a friend, a person who sings with her soul and transforms any place into a great celebration. After this beginning full of courage and hard work, Ivete started doing shows in bars and conquered the public with her talent and charisma. Just imagine, she performed with all the energy in the world, even in small places, as if she were in a big stadium. And that's how, singing from the heart, she caught the attention of a super famous band at the time, Banda Eva. When they invited Ivete to be the vocalist, she didn't even think twice. It was the opportunity she needed to take a big step in her career, and she dove right in. At that time, her life was just a rush. In addition to singing, she worked as a model, helped her mother selling lunchboxes, and even rocked the stage. Can you imagine? One day, she was in a fashion show. The next, singing to a crowd. It was a lot of effort, but also a lot of love for what I did. Each lunchbox sold and each song sung were steps that took her closer to the dream. And you know, that kind of story that looks like something out of a movie? Well, Ivete's trajectory is exactly like that. From the very beginning, there in Juazeiro, to shining all over the world, she proved that with determination and a lot of love for what you do, any dream can come true. With Banda Eva, Ivete exploded all over Brazil. Her songs were the kind that stick in your head and don't come out anymore. Everyone sang along, danced, and fell in love with the energy she brought to the stage. Hello Passion, Ava, Crazy Lead. There were hits after hits! And it wasn't just the audience that was delighted. Even Maria Bethânia, one of the greatest singers in Brazilian music, surrendered to her talent. When Bethânia included a song by Banda Eva in her show, she made a prophecy. This girl is going to be the greatest artist in Brazil. And look, isn't it that she hit the nail on the head? The partnership with Banda Eva was like a springboard for Ivete. Not only did she gain national recognition, but she also learned a lot about what it was like to be on the road, play shows in front of crowds, and run a band. And the most beautiful thing is that, even in this phase of ascension, she never stopped being that simple, cheerful girl full of desire to make people happy. With Banda Eva, Ivete not only won hearts, but also consolidated herself as a force in Brazilian music. After a while, Ivete felt it was time to go her own way. She decided to take an important step and start her solo career. And of course, what happened? She rocked. With his solo career came even more hits, such as that song that doesn't get out of anyone's head, If I Didn't Love You So Much. Who has never sung this song, right? She touched the hearts of so many people and showed once again that Ivete was a star shining brighter and brighter in the Brazilian music scene. And this wasn't the only song she was successful with, right? Every time she released something new, the whole of Brazil was already eager to hear it. And look, Ivete's path was only going up. She began to make dreams come true that many artists only imagine. One of her biggest dreams was to sing alongside her idols, those artists she has always admired. And guess what? She did it. Imagine what a thrill it was for her to sing alongside people she once only heard on the radio or TV. And it didn't stop there. She filled giant stadiums with an audience that seemed to have no end and even took her music out of Brazil. One of the most memorable moments of this phase was when she performed in New York at the famous Madison Square Garden. This is one of the most important stages in the world, and being able to sing there is the dream of any artist. Even with all this fame and success, Ivete never lost her essence. She remains the same person as before, humble, full of love and gratitude for the people who accompany her and for her work. Ivete always speaks so fondly about the public that it seems that each fan is an important part of her story. She is the type of person who, even conquering the world, never forgets where she came from and who helped her get there. Every show, every interview, every gesture of hers is always with that smile on her face and that simple and welcoming way. No matter how big her career has become, Ivete remains the woman who conquered Brazil with her music, her contagious energy, and, of course, with her huge heart. And that's what makes her even more special. In addition to being a star, she is a person who touches the lives of everyone around her in a unique way. And you, Ivete's fans, what do you feel when you hear one of her songs? I bet her joy is contagious, isn't it? There is no way to stand still when Ivete starts singing. Each song of hers is an invitation to dance, sing along, and even to smile for no reason. It's amazing how Ivete manages to make us feel happiness instantly. She has that power. If you're on a sad day, just put on a song from her and that's it, the mood already changes. Whether singing, dancing, or even just listening, Ivete spreads a positive energy that you can't resist. And speaking of songs, how can we not remember the hits that marked so many lives? Who doesn't feel an irresistible urge to go dancing when they hear Poeira? Or when Faz Tempo starts playing and that feeling of nostalgia already comes, as if we were remembering good times with friends and family. These songs have a special magic, right? They have the power to turn any moment into a party, and when you hear them, it's as if time stops and everything around you becomes lighter and happier. Of course, Ivete knows how to make us feel this way because she has the gift of creating songs that stay forever in our memories. Now, if there is something that is impossible not to notice, it is how proud Ivete is of her homeland, Juazeiro. This city, full of stories, a lot of love and, of course, talent, has a special place in Ivete's heart. She does not miss the opportunity to talk about her roots and to take the name of Juazeiro to the whole world. Every stage she goes on, every show she does, it's as if she's bringing a little piece of her city with her, sharing with the world the most precious thing she carries in her soul. And it is exciting to see how Ivete, with her incredible trajectory, continues with her heart. There in Juazeiro, keeping the essence of this city alive. Even though she is one of the most recognized artists in Brazil and the world, she never forgets her origins and always carries this pride in her eyes, in her voice, and in every gesture. That's what makes her not only a star, but a true person, who honors her roots and makes us feel like we can conquer the world, just like she did. So, guys, what did you think of this incredible journey of Ivete Sangalo? It is really fascinating to see how she left Juazeiro with her dreams and her passion for music and conquered the whole world. Ivete is an example of talent, determination, and love for her land, and teaches us that, with a lot of dedication, we can go far. There's no way not to be moved by the story of this great artist, right? If you liked this video, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any content, and tell us in the comments which Ivete song makes you feel happier and dance non-stop. Let's talk about this phenomenon of Brazilian music that never goes out of style. See you in the next video, guys.